In the Sun Sentinel this week, you brought up 10 issues that the Dolphins have to fix before the season starts in just 2 weeks. Is this reasonable to think that any of these are going to get fixed, or some of these could get fixed?
I think they can. I mean, if you're really thinking about it from this standpoint, you've got offensive line. Get them comfortable. Get them to the point where they are able to develop chemistry. Don't change that starting lineup, obviously, without the exception of Mike Pouncey, who's sidelined, and Anthony Steen is filling in as a starting center right now. Get them to a point where they can start to develop chemistry. Maybe by week 4 of the regular season, they've got it going. They're into a groove if injuries don't take place. Finding a cornerback opposite Byron Maxwell is important. I think it's Xavien Howard getting cleared to practice, getting back. He'll probably be able to participate in the exhibition season finale. I think that's important. The question is, where are you going with a nickel cornerback? Is it Bobby McCain? Is it Tony? Is it going to be Michael Thomas? You know, get one of those guys in there, get them comfortable, and see where that goes. Other issues, I mean, man. This tight end situation is just. I wrote about that in today's Sun Sentinel, Wednesday's Sun Sentinel. I've never been around a team that dances around the subject. It's such a sore subject, they just don't even really want to address it. It's
in what way? Like, give me an example.
They want to avoid it. They don't want to say, "Oh, we're struggling right now. We're doing a little bit bad," or.
But they've poured $8 million this year to Jordan Cameron. Why is he not the guy they need?
I don't think he's grasped the offense. This is just my theory. I don't think he's grasped the offense well enough to play without thinking. And there are certain players who, when they're thinking, they're not very good. And I'm not calling Jordan Cameron a dumb guy, because I don't think that's the issue.
I don't think he is either, yeah.
But when you're pressing, guys who start pressing, sometimes it's like a hitter in a batter slump. You start pressing, sometimes that average goes down. You gotta get out of your head. And I think that these tight ends are in their head. They're dropping way too many passes. The biggest issue right now is, can they catch contested passes? And can Ryan Tannehill develop a trust level to actually throw to him? And I'm not necessarily seeing that. Right now, it'll be interesting to see what happens when Adam Gase begins to game plan for the tight end, and to use them to figure out. They're a chess piece that allows Tannehill to identify what everybody else is doing on defense. So, but he's got to be some kind of weapon.
But with the weapons that the Finns have at the receiving core, the tight end problem is probably not the biggest problem that the Dolphins are going to look at this year. Is this one of those things that they just look at next year to try to figure out?
I mean, Jordan Cameron's already got his money. Deion Sims is in a contract year. I could see them leaning more towards Deion Sims just to get something reliable. I mean, you're not talking about you need a sensational Charles Clay. You're talking about, hell, give me Anthony Fasano. Hell, maybe Anthony Fasano gets cut and Dolphins can go claim him. I really don't like the number 3 tight end. There's nobody there worth keeping. I think that they probably need to go out on the waiver wire or via trade and try to figure out something that can help their unit. What I do like about Chicago is Zach Miller, who's a guy who'd been out of the league since 2000, and I couldn't even tell you. He'd been out of the league for like 5 years. Adam Gase and the Bears coaching staff dusted him off. The guy had a career year. So it shows you that just give him something that he can work with, and it'll be respectable.
Let's take our next Twitter question. It comes from Christopher. Was it just me, or did Arian Foster look slow and hesitant against the Cowboys? You said he's working his way in a little bit.
I looked at all his games from last season. Weren't that many, I think 3 or 4. And which he had a 2.6 yards per carry average. He does look slow. He's slowing down. The question is, can he regain that speed? Can he regain that first step? He's a patient zone runner. He waits for the holes, and then he hits it and goes. The problem right now, he can still see the holes. The problem is the hitting it and going. That he's like a car with a trunk full of stuff in the back. The takeoff is not happening.
Yeah.
And I've seen him practice better this week. I'm interested to see how much of it has been injury versus how much of it is him pacing himself versus how much of it is he just doesn't have it anymore.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, we're still trying to figure out Adam Gase. but I don't get the feeling like he's a guy who talks up guys just for the sake of talking up guys. And what do you? I mean, you disagree?
Sometimes.
Well, anyway,
I mean, I heard him talk up.
He
Jordan
said a
Phillips
lot.
This week,
Oh well,
come on,
Fair
like
enough.
yeah.
He said a lot positive about Foster. Right since he got
Because
here.
he's got a big ego, big personality. You got to stroke big personalities. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, what has Foster done so far?
It doesn't seem like he's done anything.
Okay. I'm sure if we asked him about Jay Ajayi tomorrow, he'd talk him up. What has Jay Ajayi done so far?
He hasn't done anything.
All right.
Fair enough.
Jordan Phillips. He talked about him yesterday. What has Jordan Phillips done so far?
I get your point. All right, let's move on to Chris on Twitter. Do you have any advice for Dolphins fans who are struggling to find a reason to be excited about the 2016 season? I hate this question.
I love it.
How can you not be excited about football?
The problem is when you're a Dolphin fan, you've had one winning season since 2004. I don't know.
You got to learn to enjoy the little things. Then
yeah, you do have to learn, and that's what this season's about.
New stadium.
Oh man, that stadium's going to be pretty. New stadium. You're not cooking out there in the sun. But that's non-football related. I think that what I'm excited about is I'm going to get to understand the wide nine defense. I don't predict it's going to be successful, but I'm going to get to learn it. And I think it's important for me to learn every different segment of football. And there's something about studying it and then something about seeing it firsthand. I'm personally excited about that. Also, I'm excited about figuring out whether or not Ryan Tannehill can be a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. I don't say he has to be there this year, but you got to move from quarterback number 18 to at least quarterback number 14 this year. You got to get into the 90 quarterback rating. You got to be efficient. You got to be a guy that your teammates look at as a leader, a guy that they're confident in. And that's not Tannehill. That's not Tannehill. It hasn't been Tannehill. Can he get to that point? This is a pooper get off the pot year for Ryan. So, and you've got the quarterback coach now. You've got the quarterback whisperer. Hopefully the quarterback whisperer can help him take his game to the next level so that we can conclude whether or not we're going to be wasting or spending $18 million wisely next season. That money is not guaranteed to Ryan. Dolphins, if they want to move on, they can. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
I mean, that's the thing, watching to see if he develops. I'm personally excited to watch these receivers develop, because whether or not if Tannehill continues to play like he does play, he's still going to give the opportunity to Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker to make plays.
Yes.
And yeah, they're not great maybe yet.
Why do you say Devontae Parker? I think it's Jarvis Landry and Kenny Stills.
Okay. The three of them.
Yeah, the three amigos, yes.
You know, if they can show those kinds of exciting plays, you know, I think it's going to be fun to watch them all year long.
Hopefully we have a fun offense. We've been waiting for one of those for a while.
Yeah, even last year when it was not fun at all, Landry gave you some things to be just excited. I just love watching the kid play. Okay. I just if you're gonna go out there and if there's someone to root for on the Dolphins, one guy,
Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry's the guy.
This is a season. I root for a lot of guys, but you know, this is a season where you're going to get to see a lot of young guys are going to be thrown into the deep end of the pool. We're going to see if they can sink or swim. And
development.
It's a development season, and I'm excited about that. You got to know where you are as an organization. In 2012, when Joe Philbin got here, they didn't add any free agents. They just said, we're going to take what we got to the games and see what they can do. And same thing with Adam Gase this year, even though they spend a lot of money on free agents. They want to see what this team can do. And I'm very curious to see how Bobby McCain can play and how Kiko Alonso can play and some of these young guys like, you know, Laramie Tunsil and Jay Ajayi. Curious.
All right, let's take one more tour question real quick before we leave. Luke says, what are the best and worst decisions the Dolphins front office made this offseason?
I think one of the best decisions that they made this offseason was extending Cameron Wake's contract. I think it sent a great message to the rest of the players in the locker room, and it also sort of eases the tension of whether or not Cameron Wake is going to end his career with the Dolphins. I'm not necessarily sure Cameron is a every down pass rusher anymore. I'm not sure he could set the edge anymore, especially in this wide nine defense. It's going to be interesting to see how he's used, but I like the fact that one of your greats of this decade is probably going to end his career with the Miami Dolphins. I think that that's one of the best moves that they've done. To me, the worst move has to be purging the secondary, even though It was a bad secondary. Not going to deny it. They put up a franchise record in terms of quarterback rating for opposing quarterback. But Brent Grimes, Bryce McCain, Jamar Taylor are all contributing for other NFL teams. Mm-hmm. They're all doing quite well at training camps where they are. Dolphins, can you say the same thing about Dolphins cornerbacks?
No.
A lot of that was coaching. A lot of that was scheme. A lot of that was a safety play. A lot of that was lack of pass rush. You can't put it all on their backs. Now, they all fell on the sword for the situation. Brent Grimes not really, because he kind of forced his way out of Miami. I get it. You want bigger, more athletic, physical cornerbacks. Great. But let's make sure it works.
That's going to do it for this week's show. No predictions. We're not there yet. We're going to hold off. You want us to make one bold statement each, though?
Yes, I
got
do.
one? You got one in there?
I'm going to predict by the time the season ends, Isaiah Peeds is going to be the starting tailback for the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Good. That's good, yeah.
That is
you like that, huh?
Spicy. I'll give you one. So last year, one of our best predictions from last year. I know you're used to being right, but I felt good about being right. Was we had a question last preseason about what Dolphins that had never made the Pro Bowl before would make the Pro Bowl this year. And you said Rashad Jones, and I said Jarvis Landry, and we were both right.
Absolutely.
There are fewer options, I think, to choose from this year about what possible guys could make the Pro Bowl. So if we're going to pick one, I'll take Laramie Tunsil as a Pro Bowl guy.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
You got one?
I just gave you one. I said Isaiah Peeds is going to.
But he's going to. Okay, all right.
He's going to be a starting.
Any Pro Bowl?
Pro Bowl. Oh,
who hasn't made a Pro Bowl before? You got one? It's tough.
No.
Okay, good, great. That's going to do it. If you're watching us live, stay in. We'll do a little X's and Omar overtime. We'll answer some of the questions that you've sent us here over the last 30 minutes. And we'll be back next week, next Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Thanks for watching X's and Omar.